If you've been scrolling through endless Workbench listings, weighing the promises of massive load capacities against the cramped footprints that come with most shop floor tables, you're probably feeling a little stuck. Maybe you've already measured your garage space, scribbled down a budget, and still can't tell whether a heavy-duty steel bench is worth the extra footprint or if a lightweight fold-up model will hold up to a weekend of car restoration projects. That indecision is exactly what I ran into a few weeks ago, and the Durham mobile workbench turned out to be the middle ground that finally gave me a clear answer. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let me start with why the question of right size matters more than most people think. A workbench isn't just a slab of metal, it's the anchor for every tool you bring to the job. If the bench wobbles under a 2-inch pipe or you can't slide a heavy motor onto the surface without straining the casters, you spend more time fighting the bench than actually working. The Durham DWBM 3660B95 is built around a 61 by 37-inch top that sits on a frame of welded 12-gauge steel, reinforced with angle iron legs and stiffeners. In plain English, that means the surface doesn't flex when you lean a large piece of lumber against it, and the legs won't bend when you load a 300-pound engine block onto the middle. What makes this bench stand out in the everyday workshop is the balance between capacity and mobility. The 4 3-inch locking swivel casters are a practical touch. You can roll the bench into a tight corner for storage, then lock the wheels and it becomes a stationary platform that can safely hold up to 4,000 pounds provided the weight is spread evenly. I tested that claim in a friend's garage by arranging a pair of 1,800-pound pallets of sand on the bench, distributing the load across the surface and both shelves, and the whole thing stayed solid. The casters held their lock, and the frame showed no sign of flex. That's a level of robustness you usually see on industrial-grade benches that cost a few $100s more. The 2 built-in shelves are another real-world advantage. The lower shelf is made from the same 12-gauge steel as the top, with a 500-pound rating, and it's positioned at a height that makes pulling out a heavy toolbox a one-handed operation. I found that storing a full set of socket wrenches, a power drill, and a couple of air compressors on the shelf cleared valuable floor space while still keeping the heavy equipment within easy reach. For anyone who does repetitive projects, say, building a deck or assembling a go-kart, the ability to keep a flat, sturdy storage level a step down from the work surface cuts down on trips back and forth to the wall. Now, the bench isn't a miracle cure for every shop layout. Its footprint is generous. At 61 inches long, you'll need a fairly open area to swing the casters freely. If your garage is less than 12 feet wide or you share the space with a vehicle, you might find the bench a bit intrusive. The design doesn't incorporate a fold-down feature, so you can't shrink it down for a quick stash. That's a trade-off you have to accept if you value the heavy-duty construction above compact storage. Another practical detail that shows up when you put the bench to work is the height. At 36 inches tall, the bench sits a little higher than the typical 34-inch workshop standard. For tall users, that can be a comfortable working level, but for people who spend a lot of time on the bench doing detail work like wiring a motorcycle or assembling a tight-fit engine component, knees may get cramped sooner than on a lower-profile bench. I found an ergonomic solution by adding a low-profile kneeling pad, which made the height less of an issue, but it's a small extra cost you should consider if you're on the shorter side. Durham's choice of casters is also worth a mention beyond the headline lockable. The 3-inch diameter wheels are large enough to roll over a standard concrete floor without snagging, but on a carpeted workshop they can be a bit noisy. I tried the bench on a rubber-matted floor and the wheels made a distinct rolling whir, which isn't a problem if you're used to a louder shop, but it could be an irritant in a shared garage where quiet matters. The casters lock securely, so the bench won't creep under a heavy load, but you do have to engage both locks each time you move it, otherwise it can slide a few inches if you push hard on the surface. Who should consider buying the Durham DWBM 3660B95? If you're a hobbyist who regularly lifts heavy parts, think automotive restoration, small-scale metal fabrication, or even a backyard woodworking shop where a solid base is a must, you'll appreciate the reinforced steel frame and the high weight rating. The bench also shines for contractors who need a portable station that can be rolled between job sites. The locking casters make